Hey students, in this video we're going to be talking about the secession of the South from the Union because of the election of Abraham Lincoln. The South at this time was on the edge. The raid led by John Brown would spread the idea that the North was ready to end the institution of slavery by violent means. This suspicion spread into the election of 1960. The Democratic Party was split over the issue of slavery but would nominate Stephen A. Douglas for the presidency. The Republicans would nominate Abraham Lincoln. Lincoln would campaign to ban slavery in the territories, but not the practice itself. Regardless, Southerners would believe that Lincoln would end the institution of slavery. Southern states would not even let Lincoln on the ballot, but Lincoln would still win the election. Before Lincoln was in the White House, South Carolina would declare secession from the Union in December of 1960. By February 1961, Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Florida, and Georgia would join South Carolina. These southern states would form the Confederate States of America and secede from the United States of America. These southern states would claim that the justification for secession was on states' rights. They claimed that the federal government of the United States was violating the compact between national and state governments. Even to this day, some will make the argument that southern states left for states' rights, economic rights, and the southern way of life. Regardless, if we examine each of these reasons, they are all founded based upon the enslavement of African Americans. Lincoln would assume his office on March 4th, 1861. The entire United States and rebelling states would be watching and listening as he delivered his first inaugural address. At this time, several slave states in the middle of the nation had not decided whether they would secede, but did threat that if the United States fire upon the rebelling states, they would secede. Lincoln would address the nation stating, "In your hands, my dissatisfied fellow countrymen, and not in mine, is the momentous issue of civil war. The government will not assail you. You can have no conflict without yourselves being the aggressors. We are not enemies, but friends. We must not be enemies. Though passions have strained, it must not break our bonds of affection." One day after Lincoln addressed the nation, a message from Fort Sumter in South Carolina would come to him. The message stated that the fort was low on supplies and the Confederates were demanding the fort's surrender. Lincoln knew that if he would send troops that the rebels would see this as an act of aggression, so instead Lincoln would send an unarmed group to deliver supplies to the fort. There were no firearms or ammunition delivered. The Southern troops would see this act as aggressive regardless and would fire upon the fort. Fort Sumter would surrender on April 14th, 1961. The fort was showered with cannon fire, but the only thing that died was any chance of the North and South reconciling. The Civil War had begun. Alright students, that's all for this video. Make sure that you are reading your books, wash your hands, and do not touch your face, and stay indoors. If you stayed watching up to this point in this video, the keyword is bacon. If you come to class tomorrow whenever I start talking and you say bacon, you can earn some extra points. Y'all have a great night.